We are
Hello.
live.
Hello.
We are here. I'm Peter Carloftus.
I'm Cat George.
Yay!
And
We're from Three Rooms Press, if you read right there. And we are Three Rooms Press. We're here in New York City tonight. We'll be in San Francisco tomorrow. What a life, huh? We get to travel again, which is great. But tonight we are here for Prose Poetry Party 9. This is our 9th year in a row.
Yeah.
It's our second that has been here on StreamYard. But it's not such a downer because we have such a lot of great people reading, great authors, such great talent.
Yeah.
And
what we like to do with the Prose Poetry Party is we introduce and feature some of the fantastic authors that are part of the Three Rooms Press family. And our family is growing. In next fall, we're going to be releasing our 100th book. Oh my gosh.
100.
So exciting. So we're very excited that we're going to be doing this tonight. We have a great lineup. It'll be broken up into 2 halves. And our first half, we're going to tell everybody who's going to be in the first half.
In the first half, we've got Kellyanne Jacobson,
Yay.
Aaron Hamburger,
Yay.
Ebele Chizea, Jillian Marshall,
Yay.
Aimee Herman,
Yay.
Julia Watts,
Yay.
Lucy Jane Bledsoe,
Yay.
and Vanessa Baden Kelly.
All right.
We do have Chris Chambers. I see him there in the green room. Chris, we got to take you off. You got to log in later, okay?
Yeah.
Nod your head. You hear me? Okay, great. Log in later when Cat's reading. Thank you. Don't worry.
Right.
Chris is wonderful. He's got a book, Scavenger, and he's got a new one coming.
Next time we'll do that with a private comment.
Yes,
okay.
I couldn't because
I know.
we just got to move.
Okay.
Here, it's okay. We love Chris.
Let's go ahead and kick off the show. What do you say?
I'm ready for that.
Okay. Is everybody who's in the first half is a prose?
Everybody has a book on Three Rooms Press, a fiction, a book of fiction or memoir.
Right.
We have Kellyanne is first, and of course she's Tink and Wendy. Let's bring her up and let's talk with her.
There you go.
Kellyanne Jacobson.
Kellyanne.
Tink and Wendy.
Yes.
Hey.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Kellyanne, Tink and Wendy is a retelling of the Peter Pan story. That poses a question: what if Tinkerbell was in love with both Peter Pan and Wendy?
Yes,
that's right.
We're gonna get
we're with our
poetry party.
We've got our Prose Poetry Party champagne glasses. Put yours up there so you can read it.
Right.
Okay. Put it in there. So oh, mine isn't.
No, there
what
you
did
go.
I do?
Raise it up.
There we go.
There you go. All right.
So but I see. I'm going the wrong direction. Here we go.
Yay. So we're going to let you take it away, Kellyanne.
All right. Thank you so much. I went with something that's a little darker, but I've found like one of the best things for me about this book is that people feel like it destroyed their love of Peter Pan. And that's kind of what I was going for in a way. It completely destroys it, but it definitely changes the way that you view the original story. So I thought I would read something that's kind of in that vein. This is actually chapter 24 in the book, and it's then. So there's then and now in the book, and this is back then. The next morning, Tink found the darlings in the kitchen in a flurry of activity. As she stepped over the threshold, she heard an unlikely splash under her boots, and she realized that the sink had sprung a leak. Michael and John were skating around with towels under their feet, mostly spreading the water, Tink noted, while Wendy and Peter argued. Peter lay on his back with his head under the sink and his feet sticking out to the table, and water kept spraying into his eyes and mouth. Wendy was crouched down next to him, talking in a louder voice than Tink had ever heard her use. A damp Nana had retreated to drier ground under the table. That's not it, Peter. I'm telling you, when Father used to... I know. Your father was apparently 100 times more capable than silly old Peter. That's not what I'm saying. Maybe if you said less, I might actually be able to focus on fixing this leak. Wendy closed her mouth, and it looked like she was actually biting back her words. By her feet, a rusty toolbox had been emptied, or rather ransacked, for the wrench Peter held in one hand. Tink bent down to watch him work for a minute, and realizing he had no idea what he was doing, announced in a firm voice, "I'll fix it." Oh, great, said Peter, who was now out of view. Good old Tink has joined the peanut gallery. Do you want to tell me about how your father used to fix the sink, Tink? Or should I just... Damn your ego, Peter, Tink said. You're wasting time and ruining their floor. This was a voice she didn't often use on Peter, and a second later, he wiggled out of the cabinet and stood up. His cheeks were pink, and though she knew she'd embarrassed him, good, she thought, she didn't do anything to soften the blow. Tink searched through the tools on the floor for a second wrench. Once she had the instrument in hand, she took Peter's place in the sink cabinet and lifted the second wrench with her other hand. The trick she knew was to tighten the compression with one wrench while holding the valve with the other. The water stopped. That afternoon, Peter announced that he would be taking the boys on a surprise field trip. Me too? Asked Michael, who always seemed afraid of being left out since he was so much younger than the others. Especially you, Peter said. He bent down on one knee to look into Michael's eyes, but Tink noted that his glance strayed to Wendy. He was putting on a show for her, the way he used to fly circles around Tiger Lily's head. You're an important member of our crew. Peter wouldn't say where the three of them were going, only that they needed to wear warm clothes and bring their father's toolbox, the one Tink had just used on the sink. Not obvious at all, Tink thought. She had seen the show many times, especially when one of the other Lost Boys proved to be more skilled at anything than Peter. Think you can shoot an apple off of little Ben's head? Peter will blindfold himself and aim, and you'll be the target. Think you can best Peter at swords? Peter will blindfold himself and fight, and you'll be on the other end of the sword. Never mind that these battles always ended in a scraped knee or black eye, or once, during an especially dangerous game of who can hold his breath the longest, the loss of a life. Tink had been back in the fairy realm that time, reporting to the queen on the most recent Candelanian birthing ritual, and when she'd returned, she'd found a grave dug at the end of the home under the ground, and over it, on a stick, the letter L. We wanted to bury him proper, little Ben had said when he saw her staring at the grave, but by the time we finished covering him up, we couldn't remember his name. Lance, she'd thought, and taken off her hat. His name was Lance. That time, Peter had disappeared from the home under the ground for 5 whole days. Tink had searched the island for him, and then on day 5, found him up in a never tree, scraping the bark off of a stick with a knife, the way humans peel apples. She didn't ask him where he'd been until then. Even boys deserve to have their own private spaces. When he'd been ready, he'd made himself available to be found, as she'd known he would. I killed him, he said, as soon as she alighted on a nearby branch. Who? Tink asked. She knew, but did Peter? Him, the boy with the lazy eye. Peter peeled more quickly. Tink wondered whether he would accidentally slice his finger and whether he wanted to. I challenged him and he didn't back down. Peter continued to scrape, only the stick had fallen out of his hand, so the knife moved through the air like it was a conducting wand. It was an accident, Tink said. Peter didn't say anything. He had found another stick and was peeling away. She was surprised he still remembered the contest at all. Lost Boys usually forgot things within a day or two, and she wondered if there was something about the stick, about the repetition of this action that kept Peter's memory. Was he infusing it with his thoughts, the way a praying believer might send their worries into a string of beads? It didn't matter. No human mind was stronger than the spell. He didn't back down, Peter said again. He sounded less sure this time. Were his memories changing color the way the stick was? Would he soon whittle away his worries entirely? Can I borrow your knife? Tink asked. Peter looked down at his hands as though they were unattached to him. He blinked. Whatever mantra he'd been repeating had been interrupted. I guess, but make sure you give it back. I will, Tink said, and took the knife by the hilt. As soon as the weight of the knife shifted to her, Peter smiled. Thank you.
All right.
Yay!
Kellyanne Jacobson.
Tink and Wendy. There it is.
Wendy.
From Three Rooms Press.
All right.
We'll be giving away books throughout the night. We'll be giving away a copy of Tink and Wendy. So keep commenting, and we'll be giving away books to the commenters. So just keep commenting
and keep
Say
listening.
Hello. Keep listening.
You might be a winner.
And Kellyanne, you can hang out for a while, but when we take you off, just watch the show for later. Okay, great.
Who's next, Peter?
Here we are. Prose Poetry Party.
All right.
That's it. And we
I got
got
one
the new
too.
bottle of Shandon. Look at that lovely, look at that label. I thought they did a very nice job
Now-
with that after all those.
This is
You can see there's a lot left, so don't worry. We're
it-
not in the bag yet. But we will be.
it's great for the holidays. We did promise a holiday cocktail
Yes.
recipe, so we'd like to start with maybe a little champagne. Okay, and
Shandon, open the bottle. That's our
Right.
recipe.
you can get it
So-
for under $20. It's
Out there
sounds
in
fancy.
California with
All right.
Vanessa and Bella and,
Oh,
Aaron.
Speaking
Look
of a
who's
happy
here.
holiday, look
We have a
who's
special
here.
guest,
Who is
Mr.
that?
Fluff.
Mr.
Mr. Fluff.
It's Mr. Fluff.
Oh. You know, I think he was in an article I recently read about the world's cutest dogs. Yeah, I
We
think
certainly
so.
think so.
Yeah, that's right. So Aaron is the author of Nirvana is Here, and you're
On
gonna
Free Rooms Press.
read
And many
a
other
little bit
books
from that?
too.
Yes, I'm going to read a
He is-
piece.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Aaron's also an excellent cookie maker, and he's just hosted a how to cook cookies show. And tell us what else. I'll go ahead and get us off now.
Chris Chambers is down there. He might want to stop by this Sunday for some cookies.
Right.
So we'll remind him.
Yeah, no, we do an annual cookie party, and we're sort of trying to manage it in the age of COVID as best we can. So hello from Mr. Fluff. Hello from me. I'm going to read from Nirvana is Here, which I'm so happy that Three Rooms Press put out, and we had such a wonderful success with that. So this is primarily, I see it as a love story between two teenage boys. One is Jewish, white, from the suburbs of Detroit, and his name is Ari, and one is Black and non-Jewish and from the city of Detroit. His name is Justin. They both go to the same private school, and in this selection that I'm going to read, they are sort of joint tutors. Justin is helping Ari with math, and Ari is helping Justin with history. Justin also is very into alternative music and introduces our main character, Ari, who's the narrator, to the music of Nirvana, hence the title Nirvana is Here. So I will just read a little bit. 3 times a week, Justin and I met by the salad bar, studying equations and Romans, while kitchen ladies brought out clanking metal vats of pale iceberg lettuce, flabby cucumber slices, and shredded carrots. I drew him a cartoon of a Dalton student writhing in agony from food poisoning in the cafeteria. Once, Justin sneaked over to the bar and arranged the vegetables into the shape of a giant question mark. Another time, he stole 2 cucumber slices and put them on his eyes. So beneficial for the complexion, he said in a British accent that made me giggle. By then, I'd given up my apathy act. The outside wall of the dining hall was taken up entirely by windows facing the baseball and lacrosse fields, and beyond those, a grove of oaks and maples whose tiny leaves were tinted sour apple green. It was my first spring at Dalton, when the campus was at its most picturesque, and the dogwood trees blooming pale pink, and rows of red and purple tulips shooting up all around the school walls. Justin pointed out a team of photographers on the grass, taking beauty shots of the building for promotional material. Several of our best-looking students posed casually with their books on the lawn. As we huddled over our homework, I imagined the two of us going for long walks and discussing Nirvana, the sunlight spilling over his shoulders, our dress shoes crunching through dried leaves and twigs, our hair dusted with pollen. Between quadratic equations or the sack of Rome, occasionally our wrists bumped or our feet touched. When Justin had a cold, I heard his labored breathing like a tiny saw in my ear. When he bent over the map in the book to trace the routes of various barbarian tribes, I dreamed of resting my chin on his shoulders. Some guys in school smelled of cologne or sweat or cocoa butter, but Justin's body smelled like mine, which is to say, it seemed to have no particular smell, which was what I liked. A few times, I left my Nevermind cassette on the table. Then I hummed a few bars from Smells Like Teen Spirit. He didn't seem to catch on. Finally, while Justin was prepping me for a math quiz, I burst out with, "You know, you introduced me to Nirvana." "What?" he said. "When you played that song in the art room, I never heard their music before." Okay, he said in a slow, slightly impatient voice, the way he sounded when I couldn't follow one of his algebra explanations. Why are you telling me this? Because, I faltered, because this conversation was supposed to have been a moment of connection, and instead it had only brought awkwardness. I was wondering what you thought of the new stuff. Justin leaned back in his chair, stretched out his long legs like a pair of field hockey sticks. That song was okay the first million times I heard it. I liked the first album better, the one that didn't sell. Now they're just ripping off the Pixies. Even Cobain admits it. Ripping them off how exactly? I asked, embarrassed that I didn't know who the Pixies were or how one might rip them off. You know, the whole loud, soft, and loud again. And the Pixies have a copyright on that? Justin laughed. He laughed at a lot of things I said, which I liked, even if it was at my expense. You know, it's okay, he said, to like who you like. But I wanted to like who he liked. Okay, he said, back to work. Let me see your last homework. I gave it to him. I'd earned a B-. Sloppy, he shook his head. I mostly got the right answers. Yeah, but in math, it's about how you got the answer. First rule of math, you got to be neat. He showed me some of his homework, neat as a work of art. I followed Justin's directions, and soon my math grades shot up, though Justin's history grades remained stagnant. His problem was when a subject didn't interest him, he tried to distract me with wisecracks. To hold his attention, I tried gladiators, Roman orgies, candy, emperors wearing gold coronets or fragrant laurels. But what really fascinated him was the fish and onion stinking culture I'd grown up with. Tell me the real dope about being Jewish, he said. No, I don't have horns, I said wearily. Duh, I ain't that dumb. Okay, I'll make you a deal. For every lesson you learn about the Romans, I'll tell you something about Judaism. You're on, he said. And so, after an explanation of Nero and the burning of Rome, I asked, what do you want to know first? He paused. What is Jewish exactly? Is it a race or just a religion? I chose just a religion, which seemed like an evasion. As we moved from the Julio-Claudian dynasty to Constantine, Justin asked about the Jewish New Year, which he called Rosh Hashanah. Yom Kippur became Yom Kippur, and Hanukkah was Chanukah. I love that. Thank you. Hope you get the book and enjoy it.
Yeah, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right.
Nirvana is here. Here it
All right,
is.
there
Get
you
the
go.
book. Get the book. We'll be
Yeah.
giving a copy away here along the our trail of the Prose Poetry Party.
There you go.
So there we go. Prose
right.
Poetry Party 9.
Right.
So
I'll toast you with some seltzer. If
all
I knew
right.
Seltzer
Seltzer's
is,
good. We love
Seltzer's,
seltzer.
and thank you, Mr. Fluff.
Thank you. Thank
So
you for
we're
that
so
special
happy
guest
to have you.
appearance. All right.
We'll keep you on. We'll bring everybody up here in a bit. This
Okay.
is our Prose Poetry
Wow.
Party 9, our 9th year in a row. It's very exciting. We always have so much fun introducing our new authors and bringing back some of our, just recent authors, and then all of our old New York friends come on. It's a wonderful evening here in New
Who's
York.
next?
Next, we have the newest member of the Three Rooms Press family, and we're bringing her up. She's out in L.A. You can see the sun's still out there,
Yeah.
so the sun's always shining. Ebele Chizea. So please welcome.
Thank
Ebele.
you. Thank you so much for having me.
We have a book that will be out in the fall of 2022. Its title is Aquarian Dawn, and it's set in that time of the late 60s. We could sing, this is the dawning of the age. Come on,
Of the Aquarius, age of Aquarius.
All right.
Aquarius.
Aquarius. All right.
I love it. I love the spirit.
I know. love your spirit, and
So
that's
this
why
is
we're.
our first chance ever of seeing Ebele and working with her and hearing her read. So take it away.
It's
Thank
for all of you.
you.
So
All right.
please take it away, Abella.
Thank you. So this is a scene about Ada, who's a teenager, and she's just relocated to the United States from a fictional West African country, and she's about to discover the hippie culture for the first time. This Saturday, after I walked out on Sal, Stacy came over to the house with her black hair flapping against her tan cheeks like a gypsy. She wore a hairband, a sari-inspired mini dress, and faded bell-bottom jeans. It was Ma who answered the door after the doorbell echoed through the house. I stood a few feet away from Ma, bracing myself, unsure how Ma would react to meeting a friend of mine for the first time. In Ogu, when my closest friend at the time, Oluchi, would come over to visit, Ine would feed us smoked fish cooked with firewood. Then Ine, Oluchi, and I would congregate in the backyard, not too far from the ash pile, where Ine would listen to our girly stories and marvel at our free-spiritedness. Now here stood Stacy before Ma, who had never been around during Oluchi's visits to Ine's house back in Ogu. Stacy was beaming, unaffected by Ma's disdainful look. Hi, Miss Ekne. She meant to say Ekene. It's nice to finally meet you. I'm Stacy. She extended her hand, but Ma kept hers firmly at her side. Stacy dropped hers slowly, showing no signs of anger or embarrassment. I did not give Ma the chance to interrogate Stacy. I simply promised to be back by 11 p.m. and joined Stacy outside. Ma suddenly seemed uncertain about the whole affair. Be careful and don't do anything. I quietly shut the door, the resounding noise drowning out the rest of Ma's words. I hope it appeared innocent. We were met in the school parking lot by Stacy's boyfriend, Ted. I was glad that Ted had the sense to park his car there, and glad that Ma had not gotten to meet him, not with his long hair, dirty fingernails, and grimy clothes. Ted was a jovial kind of man. He smiled a lot. He even told me how Stacy had told him so much good stuff about me. It made me smile too. We passed hills, small towns, and forests on our drive to New York. At one point, we witnessed a magnificent sunset and even a rainbow. When Stacy and Ted held hands and exchanged quick kisses, I thought about Sal's lips and mine locked for what had seemed like eternity. I deleted the image with a mental sponge, only for it to reappear like a chronic disease. I resolved the issue in my head. The event, I concluded, was not worth the internal turbulence and therefore needed to be discarded from memory. To avoid being swamped with further thoughts, I stilled my mind by slowly counting down from 1,000. By 400, I was under. Hours later, I was awakened by glaring guitar sounds as Ted parked his car among a sea of cars and intoxicated hippies. Back in Lagoon, I often caught our gate man smoking Igbo or pot when Ben and Ma were away, so I could easily recognize the sweet, pungent smell of one. Blonde, black, red, and brown-haired people were everywhere, with their hair sitting mostly past shoulder length. As we headed towards the arena, which turned out to be a sprawling field filled with hundreds of people, the inebriating scent grew more intense, and I experienced myself hovering in unfamiliar spaces in my mind. Stacy and Ted blended with the crowd. As for me, I felt conscious of my appearance. My sleeveless white dress, a few inches past my knees, seemed tame compared to the outlandish colors around me, compared also to the semi-nudity. Hippies. People said they were no good, but I liked these people around me, doing whatever they wanted, telling the establishment to fuck itself. I wished I dared to forget everything, run away from home, and join them. I wish I dared to be a no-good too. Let's sit here, Stacy said, pointing to a space on the grass. She spread out a blanket she said was crocheted and given to her by her grandmother. The three of us sat on the soft woven yarn and watched a lanky male figure take over the stage several feet away. He began belting a song about cosmic consciousness, swaying to music inspired by an eclectic mix of The Doors and Jimi Hendrix. I became hypnotized by the psychedelic sound, the fluid dance moves displayed by the crowd, the public display of bedroom affections. I turned to my left to see Stacy and Ted arguing over a white pill offered to them by a stranger. Ted grabbed the pill and shoved it in his jeans pocket. How come you never let me have one? Stacy whined. I think you should wait till you're a little older. Ted replied, Why? Why? I had a hell of a trip on this the last time. That's why. I was meditating with some Hare Krishna folks at a temple in Lower Manhattan when I slipped a pill because I thought, it would heighten everything. Anyway, some crazy shit happened. I saw devils and they were inviting me to join them in Nirvana. Just as I was about to go with them, this belly dancing Asian chick came out of nowhere. She wanted to make love. It felt like a test, like I had to choose. Make love to this goddess right there and then, or go straight to Nirvana with a group of devils. Unfortunately, I blanked out before I got to choose. I just remember waking up hours later. Guess where? Lying under a freaking tree in Central Park. Don't even know how I got there. That doesn't sound like a bad trip, Stacy said, rolling her eyes. What is it? I asked, stifling my laughter. LSD. Take this instead, Ted said, offering Stacy a blunt he had just rolled. She grabbed it, sulking. Freedom and love, the musician on stage belted after the song was over. Was this freedom? Was this love? Whatever this was, it was certainly better than the mundane experience that was my life. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey, beautiful. All right, now I want to publish it sooner. But we
Thank you, guys.
Fall. You're gonna have patience.
Darn.
We got to show patience at this
Yeah.
point.
Yes.
That was fantastic.
Thank
Wonderful
you so
reading.
much.
I enjoyed every second. That was
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you
so much. So
Thank you, guys.
And we'll say goodbye at the end of this shift.
Yeah, so
Okay.
stay here until then.
Everybody
All
can
right.
stay on.
Okay, so who's next, Peter?
Next, we are bringing up Jillian Marshall, who has a spring book, Spring
Whoops. There you
2022,
go.
Japanthum.
Yeah.
And that is counter-cultural experiences and cross-cultural remixes. So let's bring up Jillian Marshall and her
All right.
experiences
Tell us
with
about
the Japanese culture.
All right.
Thanks so much for having me. Really, really happy to be here. Japanthum was originally born from my doctoral research for my PhD in ethnomusicology, but when I was writing my dissertation, it was so boring sticking to the academic writing, especially given these experiences I had exploring the world of contemporary Japanese music, traditional pop and underground, that I ended up writing a secret collection of vignettes that I theoretically justified for my dissertation, but then had secret plans to publish as an actual book that people might read after I finished up school. So the reading I have for us today is when my research in the underground music world in Tokyo was really starting to line up, and I was meeting some interesting people and experiencing some pretty mind-blowing coincidences, which leads me to just share one Japanese word that would be helpful if we knew before proceeding, which is en, E-N, if we were to transcribe it into English, which means a synchronicitous connection with a person, place, or thing, a relationship that kind of plops into your lap, a connection to be pursued, the stuff of destiny, but not destiny itself. So this passage here is called The Secret Mountain Party. After realizing that the larger forces of N seemed to have brought us together at that basement recording studio in Shinjuku, DJ Edamame let me in on a secret mountain party happening a few weeks later in the woods not far from Mount Fuji. He wouldn't be going, but the band Destiny Brink was, and after asking if I was cool with drugs, to which I said, yeah, sure, whatever, he suggested that I get in touch with the synthesizer player from Destiny Brink that I'd since internally dubbed the Mad Scientist so that we could all go together. I was both excited and nervous. From what I'd sensed and heard, this Mad Scientist character was living life on the edge, playing around on a synthesizer in a tiny apartment for 18 hours a day in Tokyo's western outskirts with no job other than writing album reviews for an online music magazine when he needed fast cash. And at that point, I'd only sort of talked to him once in person when he was making his way through a crowd at a headphone concert that Destiny Brink played in an art gallery, where he shouted over the crowd, "Hey, you're the researcher! Get in touch sometime!" Initially skeptical, my gut nonetheless told me that I should pursue this. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and my underground research was lining up more perfectly than I could have ever planned myself. Not only had I found a scene, the scene itself seemed interested in adopting me. A few days later, the mad scientist actually beat me to the punches by finding me on Facebook and sent a message. Apparently, Edamame had already suggested to him that they take me along, and the mad scientist said I should sneak in their van. Again, I was both excited and nervous. Do I go away for a weekend to a secret mountain party with a couple of dudes I hardly know who seem pretty intense? Or do I make the sensible choice and stay in Tokyo? My father, in fact, was the one who inspired me to make what is, in retrospect, the obviously correct choice. Hey, go with the band, be safe, and have a good time. Did I ever tell you about the first and only time I tripped on acid? One of the brothers at my fraternity slipped it to me, and I was so freaked out that I wandered around Orono, Maine at 30 below zero with my jacket open, crying. But boy, I played one hell of a game of darts that night. So on November 1st, 2014, after pulling an all-nighter celebrating Halloween in the clusterfuck that was Shibuya that night, I wearily hopped on a series of trains to meet Mr. Drum Machine, while the mad scientist took care of getting the gear into the van. Mr. Drum Machine, the other half of Destiny Brink, and I grabbed a quick coffee at Starbucks. It looked like he had been up all night as well, where he gave me the lowdown on where we were headed. We're, he said shyly, basically going to an illegal rave. When the mad scientist showed up, unapologetically late, of course, he was wearing sunglasses despite the rainy weather and a scarf tied around his head, looking very much the part of the eccentric artist Edamame had said he was. And then we hopped in the van and drove 8 hours to Yamanashi Prefecture, at which point the mad scientist immediately whipped out a pipe and started smoking weed with one hand and steering with the other. Here we go. As we approached our destination, I felt as though we had entered some new dimension where things were moving at warp speed. I had only known Destiny Brink for a little over a month, and here we were, spending a weekend together at a rave at what was turning out to be an extremely remote campground in the mountains. The road kept winding up and up, passing through one-way bridges and tunnels. The guys kept shouting, "Yabai, yabai," which means, like, this is so crazy, while I quietly savored the drop in temperature detectable even from inside the van, grateful for acting on my instinct to pack warm clothes. When we finally arrived, I paid the surprisingly cheap 2,000 yen entry fee, received a pin and some stickers, and checked out my digs for the night. 415, a semi-annual party held in the woods, organized by a small group of friends in Tokyo and Kansai, the western region of Japan, notably home to Kyoto and Osaka. It turns out Destiny Brink was invited by a friend of this group, and since they didn't really know anyone there, they set up camp and started grilling some squid legs, vegetables, sausages, and other classic Japanese barbecue foods by themselves while I ventured off to actually listen to the music by myself. Instantly, I was struck by the vibe of the party. In no way was it like my image of a typical rave, where everyone dances together in Huxleyan-like uniformity, complete with samba, or MDMA anyway, to cheesy EDM with that pornographically orgasmic beat drop. Instead, it was a smallish group of what seemed to be hippies, some of whom even had babies, dancing, chatting, eating outside, and getting warm by the bonfire. The music was also unlike anything I had heard in Tokyo, but was equally dope. A group called Tea Houses, based in Tokyo, but in another scene than the one with which I was running, was playing a set that literally made me stop in my tracks. 3 dudes on synths and 1 guy on a microphone uttering into a bratty voice that cut straight through my entire soul. I had a dream. I had a dream, but it died. I had a dream, but it died. And then nonsense syllables. I felt like I was on the edge of the earth. Next came Friendly Giant, another Tokyo-based DJ who sometimes ran with the same crowd as Tea Houses, but more so with a DJ named Labyrinth who, in addition to spinning pulsatingly dark yet danceable music, organizes big parties to support his friends from all over Japan. Friendly Giant's style is immaculate, with a selection of fresh songs with a round, soft, electronic sound that are all somehow perfectly in persistent, seamless rhythm with one another. Again, I was floored. This was beyond anything I had expected. And the sound system. The group of friends who organized 415 bring all their own gear to make a wall of speakers with a sound that's at once loud yet soft, like being surrounded by a womb of electronic pulsing without any sharp edges. In fact, it was music and sound I had been searching for my entire life without even realizing it. The truth is that I'd always been interested in dance music, but growing up on the dead end of a dirt road in a rural border town in northern Vermont, there couldn't have been any kind of music more out of place for me. Nonetheless, loving anything with a fun, free, and danceable beat, I secretly listened to a copy of the Venga Boys CD burned by my mom's boyfriend's brother's daughter on a portable CD player in my room, and secretly savored whenever the DJ played the YMCA between Kenny Chesney and Brooks and Dunn at my middle school dances. Oh no, she thinks my tractor's sexy again? Thank you.
All right.
Yay,
Yeah. Jillian.
What a performer! You're hiding back there. One of the Facebook users says, "Love the music collection behind you."
Yeah.
So and look at Matthew Hupert. He loved the Asian psychedelic trance scene too. So
Yeah.
look at all you got going for you here
All
on
right.
in this little moment. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about a special place we might be able to do a launch later on. I'll talk to you, okay?
We'll
we got to
move
move
on now?
here.
All right.
But,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
All right.
Jillian and Japanthum.
Right.
There it is. We'll give away a copy here when the first half is over. Next, we are bringing up Aimee Herman, who moved to Boulder, Colorado.
Right.
Look who's out there. We got a dog, and we have
Yay. It's so good to see you. Oh,
Trey. And who's this? Who's the other person?
Oh, this is Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca. And the dog.
Frangie.
Who is it?
Oh, Frangie, my best friend.
Frangie, right.
Okay.
We've had Frangie in the dog in the gallery, I remember.
All right.
And Rebecca. And we have Aimee with Everything Grows.
Aimee's a poet and also the author of Everything Grows. Take it away, Aimee.
All right. Hello. Welcome. Oh, that's not what I want to read. Give me a second. Okay, here we go. I started stuffing at a young age. My mother's shoulder pads, winter tissues, spherical fruit from the fridge, balled up socks pliable from wear, drafts of insufficient homework scrunched up like paper fists, fat-free Snackwell's devil's food cookie cakes. I imagined myself as a woman, Madonna, Whitney Houston, Julia Roberts, Dame Edna. I was undershirts far longer than the packaging intended, then training bra, preparing for battle with strangers' eye contact. I wanted to look how everyone was telling me I should. I wanted to look like a woman because I thought there were only two options of how to be. My father says, in tone of deep apology, the man is responsible for the sex of the baby. I tell him in tone of deeper relief, thank you for not making me a white man. The doctors are too quick to pronounce what we are. Maybe they need to be reminded that in between and undecided may be more accurate. That way, when we have the words we have been hunting for, we can decide what we actually are. Deborah, my therapist, writes me a letter to prove medical necessity for bilateral mastectomy. I become a card catalog of mental distress, 2 disorders, and a dysphoria. The letter calls me consistently depressive. Suddenly, I feel so seen. Why must we prove our unwellness for health insurance assistance when no man has to take a photograph of his flaccid penis in order to qualify for erection renewal? How to prep a body before surgery. Ask its preferred pronouns. Wrap it in fiddle leaf and orchestra. Make sure it has wondered. Check its tongue for dry and springboard. Tuck Adrian Rich into its folds. Give it time to photograph its feelings. Call it by its name. The music playing while they cut me open, while they redistributed my nipples, while they took the breasts misdelivered to my body and left them somewhere in a medical grade bin in Connecticut, was a mixtape of Broadway's best. Cyndi Lauper, Cardi B's B-sides, NPR news interruptions, my mother eating saltines while sucking on cigarettes and Folgers when she used to do all 3, the sound of a mouth swelling open into a love song, the constant pop of plastic bag beneath overzealous car tires trying to make the light. Debbie Gibson's greatest hits, Judy Garland. My teeth shivering from panic that time I ate too many weed gummies. That episode of Oprah when she wheeled out a cart of her fat, removed from surgery or diet or both, I can't remember. Trey snoring beside me. A podcast I did not recognize. The construction from down the street. Madonna post-Evita years. Elvis Costello. The soundtrack to Grey's Anatomy season 32. Bessie Smith, only half a song. The moon stretching its bones in the sky. When I woke from anesthesia, I asked the nurse, Jing, my favorite, what they listened to during my surgery. Your heartbeat, she said. The sway of your alive. Later, I learned my father was 2 floors above me in the same hospital when my breasts were removed. The night before, heat collapse, dehydration. Who knew weather could be the cause of ailment? Decades earlier, he was there as my parts were forming. Poppy seed to kumquat, to artichoke, to acorn squash, to jicama, to rhubarb, to jackfruit. There when I emerged, pronouncing words I would later contest. There when I started to question these parts, this life. There when I figured out how to tear myself open. There when I learned how to pronounce, how to heal. At night, the body is chrysalis, spelling weather patterns into the bed sheets made too warm by the summer heat. For the first time in a month and a half, I roll onto my side. My scar winces just a little, and I ask it permission to remain curled, as though trying to fit myself inside myself. My limbs are weak and uncertain now, but as I sleep, I dream of bodies against mine who don't ask me what I am or even what I need. They just remain like screen doors protecting me. In the morning, I ache. I wish for more hours, for autumn to whisper its 60-degree breath against my neck. I unfurl. Beside me, frost or snake skin or the peeling remains of my Scar Guard repair liquid beside me and lifting off my skin. My body is a windowsill, peering out, wondering what is next.
Wow.
Wow, Aimee.
Wow.
Where are you going next?
Yeah.
Where are you
Yeah.
going? Unbelievable. What a story.
Oh,
And that's
man.
you. That's who you are.
Thank you so much,
And we
Aimee.
also have Everything Grows.
All right.
We'll give away a copy here at the first half, so or maybe the
Wow.
second half for that one, I think. But so lovely to see you, and thank you. I'm so
For
glad you made
incredible
this
reading.
transition,
Yeah.
and to California. I mean, to Colorado, and in yourself. So
Thank
you're just you're a chrysalis, as you say.
All
You're
right.
gonna keep going.
So, who's next, Peter?
Next, we're bringing up Julia Watts, who
All right.
we have Needlework, which just came out this fall. And she's down in Tennessee, and she's going to be reading maybe from Needlework, I think. Is that the
Yes.
plan? Very good. So we'll
All
be
right.
giving away a copy of that
That's the
soon.
plan. That is the plan.
All
All
right.
right.
What a plan.
Great.
All right.
Julia
Take
Watts.
it away.
Thanks. Well, these readings are so great. They're all tough acts to follow. So Needlework is about Cody, who is a gay teenage boy in rural southeastern Kentucky. He is raised by his nanny. That's as in Appalachian grandmother, not as in paid caregiver, because his mother struggles with opioid addiction. And the passage I'm going to read is his mom has actually come to stay with him and Nanny in an attempt to detox, and is having a rough, physical and emotional journey doing that. The other thing you need to know about Cody before I start reading, and then I think everything else will be clear, is that he loves Dolly Parton. He is a Dolly Parton mega fan, and secretly likes to do Dolly Parton drag. There's also mention of one of his dogs. His dogs are all named after country music divas. So this particular dog that gets mentioned is Loretta. I just didn't want you to think Loretta was a person and get confused. So I will go ahead and read you a few pages here. Today is the only Sunday of my life I've been allowed to stay home without running a high fever. But Nanny said she had to go to church, and Mommy said she was in no shape to go, which is true. Mommy can't be left alone, so here I am at home on Sunday morning like a heathen. In some ways, being a heathen is a relief. Sitting in the Sunday school classroom while LJ ignores me makes my heart hurt. Mommy is sitting at the kitchen table sipping on a glass of Gatorade. She actually slept a little last night, and she looks a little better. Not great or anything, but now she looks sick instead of dead, so that's an improvement. You don't know what to do with yourself not being at church, do you? She says. Not really. I look up at the ceiling. I'm still not sure a big lightning bolt isn't going to strike me dead where I stand. It'll get me first, Mommy says. The church where NA meets is the only church I've been in since I got too old for Nanny to make me go. She gets up from the table and puts her glass in the sink. I'll tell you what, them chicken and dumplings on the stove sure smell good. I don't know if I can eat any of them, but I do like smelling them. Well, it's a good sign that food smells good to you anyway. This afternoon, Jay and Tiff and Caleb are coming over for Sunday dinner. Nanny's already fixed chicken and dumplings and some of the green beans we put up this summer. She'll make the cornbread and fix the iced tea when she gets home from church. And Tiff is bringing dessert, which I hope is something chocolate. I hope so, Mommy says. This is so hard. I know, but you're going on 72 hours clean, which is great. I wish I felt great. Me too, I say. Since Friday afternoon, Mommy's been stuck in this house, puking and sweating and shaking. An idea pops into my head. You want to go for a walk? Her eyes light up a little. You reckon we could? Sure, this ain't a jail. As long as we're back before Nanny gets home from church, it should be fine. As long as the service of that damn church lasts, we could probably walk to Florida and back, Mommy says. As soon as we're on the porch, the dogs go crazy, wagging and barking. Come on, let's go for a walk, I say, and they run ahead of Mommy and me, romping like the happy idiots that they are. It's a pretty day, bright and not too cold. Mommy lights a cigarette, and we walk together alongside the little creek that runs through the holler. It's almost spring, I say, looking up at the buds that have started to form on the tree branches. Yeah, Mommy says, I like spring. She picks up a pebble and tosses it in the creek where it hits with a plop. Loretta goes in after it and looks confused when she can't find it. So, you believe in all that stuff? What stuff? Loretta has jumped out of the creek and is making a big show of shaking off the water. Church stuff, Mommy says, taking a long drag off her cigarette. All that Bible stuff your Nanny force feeds you in the same way she did me. I'm surprised by the question. I believe most of it, I say. I mean, I like Jesus. Mommy laughs. You like him? Somehow I don't think that's enough to satisfy your Nanny. It's kind of funny that I said like. If somebody asked me how I feel about Dolly Parton, I'd say I love her. I guess what I mean is that I like what it says he did in the Bible, the way he treated people that other people thought they were too good for. But some of the other stuff, I don't know. I've never said something like this out loud, and I'm waiting for a lightning bolt to strike me. It doesn't, so I keep talking. Like Paul said some awful things about women, and in the Old Testament, God's just so angry most of the time. Mommy laughs. He is one pissed off dude. I laugh too. Like when he tells Abraham to kill his son just to prove his faith, and then he tortures poor Job for the same reason. And don't even get me started on Sodom and Gomorrah. I didn't think that'd be your favorite Bible story, Mommy says. And you're right. We watch the dogs splash around in the creek, getting all wet and muddy. I like how dogs don't worry about anything. They just have fun. But I couldn't say any of that to Nanny. With her, you have to believe every single word is the literal word of God. It's all or nothing. Well, then I choose nothing, Mommy says. I don't know you, I say. Around here, it seems like people are drawn to one extreme or another. You either go to church every time the doors open and believe that all pleasure is a sin, Or you live only for pleasure and get high on oxys or meth and chase the next high until you OD or die in a car wreck. I want something different, but I don't know what.
All right.
Needle Watts.
Wow.
Needlework.
Yeah.
We will be giving away
That
a
was
copy
awesome.
of this
Wow. Thank
here
you
at the
so much.
halftime.
That was a great selection from
Great
Needlework too.
selection.
The whole book is just lovely, and
Oh,
we're
thank
so
you.
happy to have you with us tonight.
This is her second book with us. Quiver was first,
Right.
and we're very happy to always have you in the family and keep you there. You know.
Oh, thank you so
All
much.
right.
Well, it is such a family. I love the way you guys do things.
Yeah, and,
We'll walk along the creek
just,
with you too. Okay.
Absolutely.
Mark Hupert just said, "We're loving our copy over here." Thank you, Julia.
All right,
All
Julia.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a couple more readers in our first half, and then we're going to do our big book giveaway. Next up is a reader whose book comes out in spring of 2022, just in time for the 50th anniversary of Title IX. Please welcome Lucy Jane Bledsoe.
No stopping us now.
Yes.
Lucy.
All right. Take
Hey
it.
everyone,
Yes.
so nice to be here.
Hey.
I love hearing all the readings, and I just really want to thank Kat and Peter for putting on this party and putting out all these amazing books and doing it in the style that they do it, which is so welcoming and fun and energetic. So thank you, thank you. I'm going to read a little bit from my debut, a YA novel, No Stopping Us Now, which is takes place in 1974. It's actually a true story based on my own experience in Portland, Oregon, bringing the state of Oregon into compliance with Title IX because I so badly wanted to play basketball. So the scene I'm going to read is these 5 girls who have reserved the gym every morning at literally 5:30 a.m. It's the only time anyone would let them use the gym. There's no team at their school, but these 5 girls are playing every morning, and they're playing in a city league. And so, yeah, I think that's all you need to know. And so the game they refer to as a city league game. We actually win our game on Tuesday, which puts us in a really good mood for practice on Wednesday morning. I blast my transistor radio and we scribbage through a whole lot of great music, including Carole King singing, "I Feel the Earth Move." And I think I do feel the earth move under my feet. All of us are hot this morning. We're connected. We're unstoppable. When Stevie Wonder comes on with "You Are the Sunshine of My Life," Barb points at me and says, "Our song," and then sinks a 10-footer right over my hands. I'm thinking that maybe it's time to return to our drills, get serious again, because the truth is we have some serious skill on our team. Even if we are only 5, even if we have lost a couple early games, I think we're at the beginning of a winning streak. For now, we keep playing full court, running hard, changing up the 2-on-3 teams. Even Diane and Val seem happy. A little after 8 o'clock, 2 brothers, a sophomore and a senior, Jerry and Sam, guys I know only by name, start playing at one end of the court. They're in street clothes, shirt tails flying and shoelaces untied as if they just left home partially dressed. This isn't the first time boys have crashed our court. We usually just shrink our game back down to half court. Not today, though. We're on fire. I'll tell them to leave, I say. Don't bother, Val says. It's 8:15. I'm done anyway, Diane says. No, you're not, Barb tells her. Come on, Helen says. Let's finish strong. We can just play the last 15 minutes half court. But, I start. Let it go, Helen says. As we regroup on one end of the court and go back to our game, 3 more boys join Jerry and Sam. They get loud, roughhousing, throwing their basketball at the backboard as hard as they can to make it ricochet into our game. We toss them their ball and keep playing, trying to tune them out. When one of the boys makes a long pass out to Jerry, who is standing at the center court line, rather than driving toward their own basket, he turns and dribbles toward ours. He drives right through our scrimmage and makes a layup. Boom, he says, 2 points. Excuse me, I say, we're having a practice here. He doesn't even look at me. He catches the ball falling through the hoop and tosses it down court. His brother Sam snags the pass and dribbles our way again. All 5 boys galump into our game, laughing and passing the ball. One puts a shot up, misses, and they tear down to the other basket again. Our beautiful mojo, the exhilaration we were feeling at the start of practice, caves. No one knows what to do. The boy's boorishness is a floodlight glaring onto the tender synergy we had just found. As if we'd somehow shown too much of ourselves to each other this morning, and it had to break. It couldn't last. Val, Helen, Diane, Barb, and I clear off to the sidelines. The boys will run us down if we don't. We stand there gaping, still breathing hard from our scrimmage as they continue their game, now playing full court, running back and forth between the two baskets. I want to reclaim the court, but I don't know how. Val makes a couple of snarky comments, but surrenders, slouching off toward the locker room. Diane and Helen follow. That gets me, seeing my teammates quit, just give in. I look at Barb and she shakes her head and says, don't know, girl. Boys will be boys. I hate that line. It's so bogus. I fly onto the court and intercept a pass. Tucking the ball against my hip, I inform them, we've signed up for the gym, the whole gym, every morning from 6:30 to 8:30. One of the boys grabs another basketball sitting on the side of the court and they continue playing as if I hadn't even spoken. Val, Diane, and Helen wait at the entrance to the locker room to see what will happen. Barb stands on the side of the court, dribbling the ball, acting cool. You're going to have to clear off, I say, raising my voice. We are scrimmaging. Finally, Jerry stops the play and turns to me. He has straggly brown hair and food crud on the sides of his mouth. Circles of dark sweat darken the armpits of his striped shirt. He coughs out a laugh and says, you can't do a real scrimmage. You only have 5 players. Sure we can, I say. It's good that way. We play 2-on-3. It makes us work harder. You want it harder, he says, his eyes lit with what he thinks is a hilarious remark. She wants it harder, his brother Sam joins in, his voice cracking on the last word. It's good that way, Jerry says. The boys all laugh. Sam gets so overwhelmed by the hilarity that he bends over and slaps the floor. We're just trying to have a practice, I say. Tell you what, we can help. There are 5 of you and 5 of us. You against us, full court. The boys hoot their approval of the challenge. No, I say, what's the matter? Think we might win? Come on, Sam says. Boys against girls. Let's do it. Let's do it harder, shouts Jerry. You can have first possession, Sam says in a phony, generous voice, and he hurls the ball at me. I don't react fast enough, and it hits me in the shoulder and bounces away. I'm going to stop there. Thanks.
Yeah.
Lucy Jane Bledsoe. No stopping us now.
Oh my God.
We get to meet you on Thursday in person. That's so wonderful.
I'm so looking forward to it.
We're heading out to San Francisco and we will make the jaunt to Berkeley and enjoy ourselves. So we're really looking forward to that.
All right.
Thank you so much for reading.
So much.
And we will give away a copy of this here in a few minutes. So.
Okay, so hang on. And now we have our final reader of the first half.
Last April, early May, we put out this book, Far Away from Close to Home, a Black millennial woman in progress. And this is the first time we've done anything together. I can't believe it.
I'm so thrilled to
Vanessa Baden. Vanessa Baden Kelly.
Yeah.
Either way you want to know her.
Right.
You are.
Right. Oh my God. It's so great to see your writer credits at executive writer. Is that it? On Sex Lives of College Girls?
Yeah, producer and coming up on another show. And I'm excited and I'm sorry. I'm also a mother. So you can see Spider-Man is joining us.
Yeah.
We've had mothers on already.
All right. That's good.
No need to apologize.
All right. Well, congratulations. I can't wait to hear you read from this book and take it away.
Great. Well, I'm really excited to be here. And again, thank you, Peter, so much. They published my first book of essays. And I know that it's not always popular to write essays, but it's my favorite genre. And it was really great to be writing this book during the pandemic, which I know sounds strange, but I was also able to write this book during the Black Lives Matter movement last summer. And a couple of these essays were a little bit more personal in how I was feeling and processing and working through that moment. But specifically one entitled Home, which is the one that is closest to my heart, is about the gentrification of Los Angeles and how we were feeling at that point in time and what gentrification meant to us. And there's another essay in the book that's about Ahmaud Arbery that is almost a companion to the essay Home. But right now I'm reading an excerpt from Home. After we got married and left North Hollywood, we moved to South LA. All the Black people we had missed in the rest of the city, we found there. I worked for a large community organizing NPO at the time, the same one that had put out the fires physically and within the community of the '92 riots. The nonprofit often touted that Los Angeles had the highest population of Black people in America, only second to Kings County. Only Brooklyn outdid us. Had I heard that statistic before moving to South LA, I would have laughed. Before South LA, church was the most Black people I'd ever seen in one place. But South LA, not the one of the movies or nightly news, was a gem. It is a gem. South LA made us Angelinos. We considered ourselves California residents as a result of living there. It made us part of the community. It made us engage in city politics. It made us proud of our block. We lived on 78th and Crenshaw, the blackest you could get in the city. Everything was Black. Doctors, dentists, teachers, lawyers, bankers, homeless, homeowners. It was, if there was an adjective to describe the Crenshaw district, it was Black. And it included all swaths of life, from the troubled Westmont district to the quote unquote Black Beverly Hills, Ladera Heights. Neither my husband nor I had ever seen anything like it. We went to the 3-bedroom Spanish home in Park Mesa Heights. Everyone around us was a homeowner. We had block parties. A year living there, I even got pregnant. My neighbors dropped by with things they had picked up in the store. They sent food when my husband was working. When my dog got out, they returned her, knowing exactly who she belonged to. Everyone was working to middle class. In the 2 years we lived there, LA got zoned to have more sports teams and got to bid for the Olympics, both of which would be housed about a mile away. That year, a house on our street that was sold for $250,000 prior was sold for $500,000, and someone saw a white girl jogging down Crenshaw. The early signs of gentrification were there. But it hadn't ruined us yet. When my son was born, the first daycare was 2 houses down at a home care center on the street. And I had choices. The house on the end of the block was also a home care center. I chose the one closer because the woman at the end of the block had a glass eye. I was a new mom and worried her vision would impair her abilities. No one else did. Her center had a waiting list. She was only making an exception for us because I was her neighbor. In the house directly across the street from us was an old woman whose name we could never remember. She sat on her porch all day long. My husband would take out the garbage and she would yell to him to pick up his pants. One day she asked him to come over. He obliged. Why do you wear your pants so low? It's stylish. To who? I'll pick them up. They're going to think you one of them boys. You're not. You have a wife and a family that needs you. Keep yourself together. They, of course, were the LAPD. Those boys were the boys next door to her. Directly to the west of her was a vacant home. The occupant had died before we ever moved in, but the home was still in the family. No one lived there for real, but the grandson of the deceased was there frequently, banging, as they called it. The whole block hated it. A communal block of older families and elderly had this one sore spot. We assumed they were selling drugs because there would be occasional straggler no one knew, and late at night cars would be parked out front that didn't belong to anyone on the street. That's where we learned that even Black addicts didn't mess with Black people if you stayed cool. Even in a crack-induced haze, we had a quiet understanding that we left each other alone. We were all just out here trying to make it. In the house to the west of the vacant house was an older woman and her adult daughter, Keisha. Keisha did sell drugs, but she sold them in the city. She didn't believe in selling drugs in her own neighborhood, and she didn't sell hard stuff, just weed, sometimes pills, to people in the gentrifying West Adams. Since weed was legal, now her clientele had dropped. But there were still a lot of people who wanted what she had, either because they didn't want a record of their consumption or POs wouldn't allow it. Keisha was my favorite part of our block. She was the watchdog, the community police, and the aunt of everyone she met. She helped me bring in all the baby furniture that was delivered and walked with me around the block at night to help me walk the baby down. When my grandmother arrived 3 weeks before I gave birth, she'd watch us walk from the porch and talk about my progress. I remember waving at her and her blowing me a kiss as we drove away the night I went into labor. She also rarely wore a bra. Her hair was always a mess. She had dark cocoa skin, and you could barely see the whites of her eyes. She was wonderful. I had my eyes set on a specific couch when we moved into the South LA house, and as I waited for it to go on sale, we rented furniture. When it finally hit the price point I wanted, we bought it, put the rental couch on the porch, and told the company we rented from to come pick it up. We left the gate to our porch unlocked while we ran a few errands. As we were on our way home, we received a frantic call from the pickup driver. A crazed woman was trying to assault him and prevent him from picking up the couch. We could hear Keisha's voice in the back, shrilly screaming, "Fuck you, cracker," in the phone. We yelled to try to get her attention, but she didn't listen. When we arrived, the delivery men were locked in their truck, Keisha in front of our porch. We explained the situation. She thought they were repossessing our furniture. You all gotta tell me when shit like this is happening. No one's gonna get fucked with on this street. The delivery drivers wouldn't make eye contact with her. She beat their window. Don't act like you don't hear me, motherfuckers. And she walked home. We were so grateful for her patrol. We bought her a bottle of expensive vodka that night. She requested for the same bottle for her birthday and Christmas. We got a bigger one each time. Keisha even fought the boys next door, physically fought them, with belts or brooms or bats. She hated them destroying the street and not being respectful of the neighborhood. Keisha didn't bang, but everyone who did respected her and understood how she felt. So the boys had to listen to her. If they were parked too close to the driveway, they knew to move their cars when one of us walked outside. When we came outside with our son, they went inside, leaving only the faintest smell of weed to remind anyone they were there. But they still caused trouble. Police were there far more often as the years went on. Eventually, there was a raid on the house. 5 young black men were handcuffed face down on our front lawn. One was kicked. My husband witnessed all of it from inside with our son. He called me at work. It sucks, but we have to leave the neighborhood. Why? Ryder can't see our people like this. A few months later, we were in Glendale. We never saw black people again.
All right. Thank you. Oh my
I
God.
love your
that was
book,
great.
Vanessa. We worked so beautifully together on it. I was so happy. You know, you're such a joy to work with, and we need to spend more time doing this. So
We
let's
do it now. The world is open again. We can see each other.
let's hear your next project. Let's talk. But let's we're going to bring everybody up for a second from the first part and say hello. Ebele, there's Julia, there's Lucy, Aaron, Jillian, and Aimee. I think it's okay. That's everybody. A couple of people may have dropped out. Thank you so much, you Prose people. Even though Aimee is still Prose with Everything Grows, Grows and Grows. It's okay. We loved your work, Aimee. It's so good to see all of you. All right, we're gonna have to take you off to let in the next 10. But stay tuned on YouTube or Facebook and watch us. And we're gonna give away all of your books right now. So it's okay.
Except for Ebele.
Except for Ebele. We're going to give away your book
Not yet.
day. One day, either way, we're going to do it. Okay? All right, guys.
Okay,
thank you so much for joining us.
See you guys.
All right. All right. Yeah.
All right, here we are. So I'm going to start looking. Excellent, everyone. Where are we here? Fantastic readers. Stellar. Let's give away. I saw somebody wanted No Stopping Us Now. I saw that was who was that? Let's go to you were supposed to tell me. So we're get rid of Aimee. And keep Christopher.
Okay.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Don't come back on, anybody.
Okay.
Now everybody can sign up. So who's Lucy Jane? Who is that? Julia Watts wanted Lucy Jane.
Okay.
Or no, didn't they share? Or
yeah. Let's see. Let's
start off with number 1, which is Tink and Wendy. Who wanted Tink and Wendy? Or who is the winner of Tink and Wendy? Let's go with this.
Okay, Tink and Wendy. How about well, let's give the Tink and Wendy copy.
That was Fabulous Kellyanne. Who said that?
That was Fabulous
Who
Kellyanne.
said that was Fabulous Kellyanne?
That would be Dee Dee Champagne.
Dee Dee Champagne is the winner of Tink and Wendy. So
all right.
That's a winner. Okay, next up would be...
we got to write this down.
Yeah, write it down. Next, we're going to give Jillian...
Congratulations, Dee Dee Champagne.
Jillian was Chapanthum will be the next one.
Oh, yes.
So who was that?
Well, maybe that should be.
Somebody said they wanted you. Loved you.
Perhaps it should be Matthew.
Matthew Hupert, the friggin' LSD freak in the Asian sphere. So we're giving him Matthew Hupert wins Chapanthum.
All
right. Next, we have Julia. We have Needlework. So who's gonna win that?
Needlework. Oh, I know that Mark
Somebody
Hofer already has it.
Okay, Mark
and
Hofer's
loves
out.
it.
Somebody else mentioned.
You know who I think should
Oh, it was
win that?
Lucy Jane.
Oh,
Lucy
yeah.
Jane said Lucy Jane she wanted needlework. So Lucy Jane is the winner
Yay.
of a needlework. And now Lucy Jane's book, No Stopping Us Now. Who's going to win that?
Well, Pete, let's see. How about let's have Martina Salisbury.
Martina wins. No Stopping Us Now. And we
All
have
right.
one more winner.
Congratulations, Martina.
One more, and we'll have 5 in the last section too. Far Away from Close to Home.
Well,
So-
I think that one should go to our California viewer, Mark Hofer.
Okay.
There
Done.
you go.
So Mark Hofer is the winner. We have 5 wonderful books, Far Away from Close to Home by Vanessa Baden Kelly.
Congratulations.
We have No
And tell
Stopping
the
Us Now.
winners.
Far Away from Close to Home is Mark Hofer. No Stopping Us Now, Lucy Jane Bledsoe is Martina Salisbury. Needlework by Julia Watts is Lucy Jane Bledsoe, who is Julia Watts is one of your biggest fans, Lucy Jane. So
Right.
this is a wonderful exchange here. And then we have Japanthum, Matthew Hupert, who's coming up. Hupert
Right.
is coming up soon to read. Will be getting this copy of the book, and Tink and Wendy is going to Dee Dee Champagne.
One of our biggest supporters.
Yes,
and
yes.
A beautiful person.
Okay, so
All right.
Kat is going to read now. I'm walking away, and
All
it's
right.
always a good moment when I walk away.
No, never a good moment. So it says Peter and Kat, but it's actually just me right
Kat!
now. And I'm going to read a couple of poems, and then we'll get ready with our next thing.
Next
okay.
second half.
Okay, first of all, this one I recently posted on Facebook, and y'all like it, so I thought I'd read it. Kaboom! Our lives are hard to know. Each time a flower bursts to bloom, kaboom! Another drifts away. Petals fade from gold to brown, yellow to the ash of age. Some dry and slowly disappear. Others turn to seed and scatter. A few are plucked from us in the dark. At sunrise, we turn for our usual look, and kaboom! Nothing's there but memory and perhaps a few leaves, like letters from the days we referred to them as perennials, certain to reappear, something you can count on. Better gardeners than us detailed them online. Kaboom! Unsubscribe! Doesn't anyone tell the truth anymore? You now stuck in your winter, surrounded by leafless trees, hard earth, the calendar that ends long before the memory will. On the counter, count the empty vases, push them back to the cupboard, to the back of the cupboard like summer clothes. No flashes of color left to fill this gray day. Okay, and one more. This one is brand new. Democracy Today. I spotted Aristotle in the supermarket today, squeezing pomegranates and mumbling to himself. He seemed upset about something, but frankly, who isn't upset about something these days? Excuse me, I said, could you move your cart? You're blocking the Honeycrisp. I need to grab some. He eyed me briefly, then went back to mumbling. Rude. Buddy, sir, hello, Mr. Aristotle? At the sound of his name, he looked up sharply. You know me? He exclaimed. Here in America? Well, we all have heard of you. You'd be surprised how many quotes of yours are on refrigerator magnets. He looked as if he had just discovered the source of all pain. I made a lot of mistakes, he sighed. Don't we all? I agreed. No great mind ever existed without a touch of madness. Sure, I said, look, Ari, why are you here at this supermarket? The question deserves attention, he said. But tonight, I've got a dinner for a half dozen hardcore foodies, and I have to whip up a fresh pomegranate gelato in 2 hours, or my name is Mud. He squeezed more pomegranates, mumbling. No worries, Big A. I burst out. I've got a pint I just made in the fridge. I'll let you have it gratis if you tell me one thing. Deal. He looked relieved. Then a second later, distraught. What is it you need me to tell you? He whispered. I've never seen a man of stature shrink so easily. I pitied him. His brilliance seemed so out of place there between shelf after shelf of highly manicured apples, pears, cherries, grapes, mangoes, 16 varieties of lettuce, 8 colors of bell peppers, fresh herbs, all those potatoes, corn on the cob in December, root vegetables, papayas, cantaloupe, honeydew melon, bok choy, lemons, oranges. Well, he said, you wanted me to tell you one thing? What is it? Tell me, I said. Where's the party at? I'm bringing baked apples. Thank you, and welcome back, Peter Carloftus.
The party is right here.
All
Prose
right.
Poetry Partay. I gotta go this way. Here we go. There it is.
All
These
right.
are our famous glasses we can write on. We change it anytime
There's
we
two
want.
of them.
We can put it anywhere,
Whoa.
anything on these we want. Just like on our press. It's not only our choice, though. We're all a family, and all the great authors you heard in the first half will only be joined by the next half. Who were we missing here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right,
still
so we're
missing
going to start
2.
with Christopher Chambers.
Yes, we are. Bring up
Okay.
Chris, and I've got his book here, Scavenger. And we have a new book coming from in the fall.
Brand
Bellerophon,
new.
another Dickie Cornish book, mystery. The Homeless Man from D.C. At least Christopher has a roof over his head, but he is in D.C. too, and can relate to the environment. So we're talking a cat who's in the thick of it. So that's Christopher Chambers down in the nation's capital.
Yeah.
Take
of
it away,
inequity.
Chris.
Well, I got to tell you, I was going to read from Scavenger, but there's so much messed up shit happening here in Washington, and I'm so angry that I'm going to read to you from the Obama Inheritance, and I'm going to read something that stirs my blood and gets me all hankered and ready for battle. And I want you all to join in with me as these fearless dogs do what the humans are too scared to do and stand up to these fascists and these right-wingers and all these other awful people here that have messed up my city and are still messing up my city. Oops. And here they're trying to mess me up now, too. Hold on one second. All right, here we go. All right. Here we go. Okay. Now close your eyes and imagine where you are, because you're not in the world of people anymore. Verily I say unto you, it is a new night, blackest and dead and hot of air. And many who doubted now prefer drawing ape blood. And nigh is the time to do so, for we have prepared. Yea, I give the word, and my divisions pour into this night, and veer wide around the tallest, whitest edifice standing, the white stone needle that stabs the night sky, under which Bo ordered me to set my terriers, and have them sapped and engineering a day and a night, and many of them have died of exhaustion. We, the warriors, look up at the stone needle and place our trust in it. We look down at the bodies of the terriers and take our fury from them for revenge. And we know more will die before the sun rises. We, the swift killers, we shepherds and boxers, Dobermans and Carney Corsos, collies, labs, harriers and hounds, and mutts of all the same kith and kin. And I run silent through a stand of broken trees and leap undetected upon the derelict hulks that were once mighty building machines bringing pipes of vapors and juice. And this effluence blotted out the sky worse than the clouds of war, and it stank. And yet the apes laughed and called it investment and energy, and as the flower and creature alike suffered. And lo, my ears poke as a demon's horns through my helmet, and my senses part the shadows and smoke. There, faint and far on our right, on what was the grassy, placid mall where the old ones jumped for flying discs to amuse the apes. Long dead, a bulwark forms. It grows unnoticed by the ape searchlight and its battalions of the barrel-chested and thick-necked, and they emerge from their tunnels, and they are quiet but for their heavy breaths and heavier paws. And Sonny leads them. Mastiffs, dogs, brick-headed Staffordshires and massive Danes, cruel Rottweilers and any mutts likewise mixed. And even Shack hops on the ruined limbs that yet lifted and is pushed by his loving friend Fabio and those two who look most joyous and brave, my giant warriors, my big dogs, my anvil. Yea, though I trust myself as the swift hammer and Sonny's force as the hard anvil, all faith is in the center. Verily, I see twisted plates of filigreed brown metal that was once the skin of the place dedicated to those apes who were slaves of the paler apes. And then when the paler apes, whether rich or poor, drew wealth and pride from living among them, and the mega people did destroy this place in the scour to prove that any who opposed them had no power but outrage, and outrage was laughable and puny. Fitting then that from this ruin streams the others, innumerable, armored in plastic and tin, puny. And I behold a roiling mass of high-pitched growls and tiny swaying tails, or nubs thereof, and miniature fangs, pugs and bulldogs, terriers and spaniels, puffs of Bichon and wisps of Pomeranian and new Chihuahua, shoulder to shoulder, jowl to haunches, thousands tote mines and fire-making things larger than their own bodies. Oh, brave little warriors, my troops bid you silent salute. Lo, the assembled tiny terrors rile the searchlights and cameras and drones and sentries patrolling and the wheeled things and caterpillar-treaded monsters, for all are concentrated on the strongest part of the wall, the redoubt guarding the approach to the great white den. And so much infantry and wheeled things, oblivious to their absence of flying machines, sally out, and they are haughty, bloodthirsty, and many are sick from fermented drinks and the pills that tinge their piss and spore. But behold, they see what I see, bathed in light. For the small ones part a path, and through it he bounds, resplendent in his armor, and lo, in his teeth he carries that cloth, striped with stars. Yea, before this night I would have raised hackles and paw to such hypocrisy, and scoffed even to my friend's face, and bid him, did not such a thing belong to the apes who made us slaves, and gave us these slave names like Terry and Fido? Who are you, Bo, to fetch it from our bloodied tunnels and wring it out for battle? Why this cloth, this colored fabric of lowness and bondage, long dead, long gone? Yet on this night with death nigh, he cares not of our surprise or confusion at this symbol of his rally, for we already are rallied, and whereupon he calls to the center as a hairy dachshund bears the colors away from him. Little ones, do not break. Too many have broken before us. Too many have squandered and been wrought up and dithered and debated. Only we remain, we who love them without question, without judgment. And so we fight, paw to booth, tooth to gun, heart and soul against steel and fire. Them? He does not call them apes. Yea, do not question him, for he is bravery, he is sacrifice. And the cries of the bloody yearning whip from the ranks of the small and the tiny and the puny. Once Bo now explains, this night we redeem. Heart and soul are what we are made of. The howls and growls of the small reach a crescendo, reaching even my taut ears, as the dachshund jumps to his side with the cloth, and Bo snarls, remember what you are made of, and follow me. And with that they surge, tongues trailing as a tide, and I wait to the left, on the left flank, as does Sonny on the right flank, and thus further beckoned and baited, the apes leave the safety of their wall and their redoubt to join the ones already on sortie. And lo, they charge to meet our slow and steady center, and hell comes with them. Yea, sheets of flame spew down from the snouts of machines, and bullets are clouds of gnats and flies, and the small and the tiny and the puny die in ranks, yet they keep coming and attach their minds and chaw and gnaw and chew and slash, with paws lashed up with steel and glass. Lo, in the garish light I see the Dachshund, who Beau calls the color bearer, rubbed out under the wheels of an armored monster, and Beau seizes the cloth from him before he is crushed. Emboldened, the apes smash into the tiny ones. Encouraged, they turn onto our right flank, the barrel-chested and thick-necked, and they give as well as get. Lo, I scent Shaq's death in the bloody and burnt air, for he has blown himself up under a truck after his jaws crushed many ape heads like so many eggs. And Fabio holds his ground and bites and tears until he is torn himself and is rubbed out. And my troops see my piss and spray, and they whimper and bark back. And yet I bark back, no, not yet. We do not attack yet. Yea, the right buckles, yet holds. Yet the center falters. The apes pursue, leaving their wounded behind and stomping our wounded with boots. And many boots such were pointed and made of cow's hide for sport. And yet before the retreat has made us empty of piss, behold, Beau raves the cloth, the stripes, the stars. He is offering himself as a target, and he steals the little warriors, and they hold as planned. Lo, they hold. Now I call to we who belong to each other, but not with the but with the roar of the great toothed cats who once ruled across the seas. And my sappers' fruit, seeded all through the night, watered with their blood and tongue drip, becomes a harvest of explosions, and lo, shock waves assail the apes, not us. And verily I say to you that now a great shudder and heaving rattles the great white needle stabbing the hot sky, and prompts a shudder among the apes. For as Beau planned, this needle quakes, then topples, almost whole, until an instant it crashes. And lo, it crashes into and across their cursed wall. Revenge, I howl, and whereupon waves of fangs and armors charge across the broken spine of the needle and fly out in clouds of debris and swarm through the breach, and I wheel a division into the ape's flank while other battalions bite behind the wall. And our own right flank, the anvil of the barrel-chested and the thick necks, closes the trap by trundling forward, and my troops smash the apes upon its waiting jaws. I meet Beau's little ones in the center, and the apes are surrounded, and they die where they stand, or pop from the hatches of their monsters only to be rubbed out, or they run away with so many covered by the little ones who chomp on limbs and fingers and genitals and throats. Lo, I bound into the havoc and ruins of the great white den with our troops, and we kill every ape we see. And there are many of we who belong to each other, who has shooed us, and were foils and traded for lives of favor. Whereupon I threaten and bite on these traitors, snarling, and suffer them. What of the apes underground? What are the people who give you refuge here? You are traitors and you will die.
All right.
They shot Obama. And we got the face of the president. We're giving away. And scavenger.
Right.
Oh. I want to read this to the January 6th committee.
Oh, yeah. That would be great. Oh, my God. Somebody's at our door.
Somebody's ringing our bell.
Thank you, Christopher Chambers.
Thank you.
Oh, my God. You got to watch out for
thank you so much.
You got to watch
we'll
out
be
for
giving away
monsters running around.
We're giving away scavengers. So
yeah,
sign up here. Say, whoa, powerful. I want scavenger.
Right.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Who's next, Peter?
Next, we're bringing up Jane Ormerod.
Who's Ormerod.
A little under the weather, but not the great weather.
Yeah.
She's not under the great weather. So
great weather for me.
Jane Ormerod, let her go.
Go for it.
We love you.
Hey, thank you, Captain Peter. What a party. One poem, little short because I'm a little croaky. 1 minute past destinal. Our tick has reached talk. Murder of question and single answer. Murder of pinochle sky. Cob nuts ripe oranges, bolts, trapezes for artists. I grow restless beneath the colours of this moan. I am hairline cracked, but fine, fine, fine. I fancy to touch the Pacific before breakfast, the famed zoological gardens before dinner and mince. Murder each time they see a clock. Murder each time they fool you like turkey. A rarely used phone, simply the same as a sickening dog or the glass jaw of the damned. A new suit stuffed with thief jewelry is how your grandfather describes a glacier. Trust the why and muscle of death. Its hairstyle banter out of season resort cafe. Death is a choice between radio, vinyl, and the epitaxial. I am funny with thirst and earth, illuminated by milk. Back when the boys were dead, back when the circle was not yet drawn, back when the streets flew sudden. Thank you.
Jane, we love you, Jane. Get better. Get better. And also, Minton on 15, everyone from here on out, including Jane, will have been included in Minton on 15. So we'll be giving a copy of that away.
All right.
With everyone included from hence.
Thank you, Jane.
So thanks, Jane.
All right. Next up, we have.
Who do we have?
Our longtime buddy from all the way from back in San Francisco. Please welcome poet extraordinaire Karen Hildebrand.
Hey, hi. Hi.
Hey, Cowan.
Take it away.
Thank you, Kat and Peter. So great what you do. I would like to dedicate this poem to Justice Aimee Coney Barrett. It's girls in white dresses. Baptism, First Communion, brides. We starch our wandering gaze and focus on limpid prayer. Lord, keep me pure of thought and let me fuck my brains out. We pin lacy mantillas to lacquered bouffants that nearly go up in flames when we light a joint out back. I wore white linen to my graduation, a sheath with a collar of daisies that fanned across my shoulders, then threw up in a drunken pole dance at Sam's on Lookout Mountain. We will all wear white to our funerals. Those who dress the dead, beware. And this one is Army of Beauty. They pull you up by the right hand when they want you to dance. Grab your left to throw you down. In the mirror, I fracture. I am the face on a barroom floor, trampled by characters in chaps and holsters who swagger their pistols before they shoot. Brother, father, lover, son. I hear them chant, "We love this country," as purple blooms at my temple. I am told the door exists if only I believe. I sleep with dragons. Little piglet, little truffle, my jellyfish balloon. We hold the burning world in open arms. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Cowan.
Yeah, and thank you especially for your
Aimee Coney Barrett or whatever the hell her name is.
To that woman.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean,
I
thought when they brought up I Like Beer Kavanaugh, we were at the low, and far be it from the low. I mean, how could we reach any lower than Aimee Barrett Cohen?
Yeah.
Comey. Comey Barrett, whatever. What is it?
Yeah.
Amy Comey Barrett, Comey,
Tony Barrett.
Comey Barrett. Unbelievable. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't even like to say her name.
yeah, there you go. Thank you.
I don't like that name.
All
I don't
right.
like hearing it.
Well,
but
we
it
ha-
is
we
a
have-
part of our, moments.
What's great is we're fighting the battles of the time with creation. So
That's what we're doing.
next up, please welcome David Lawton. All right. Hi,
David Lawton.
Yeah. Okay, so David, are you here?
Uh-oh.
David's having
He's
some
freezing.
technical difficulties.
He's freezing.
So we're gonna bring out our next person,
Meghan.
Grupposo, Hupert. Please welcome Meghan Grupposo.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Neuronautic Institute.
Neuronautic Institute presents, but this is Three Rooms Press, and this is my singular poetry offering for you. The Ships of Naboo. He said he doesn't like Star Wars because it isn't real from an engineering perspective. I said it's the only story where a general's also a princess. There are many myths of perspective. A huge disappointment when I learned that truth. Space flight should be eel slick, like the ships of Naboo, where queens are senators, where young girls are not taught of their inferiority when their fathers say, just because you're female doesn't mean you can't be anything you want. It never occurred to us until we were told, just because. When I learned that space travel begins with a clumsy, articulate push, a rough, raw, lumpy push, and not a whooshing, pointed parting of atmosphere, I was disappointed in us all. But I learned a rough, raw, clumsy push can break the skin of gravity and can save me from situation after situation. A rough, raw, clumsy push and a controlled crash, which is all a landing ever is, a controlled crash. We're all coming down. Best to line your bones up. Some women are the ships of Naboo. Others of us are patched together with just enough internal atmosphere for a solid jump, a touchdown on the moon, and a walk around. My only female general is a fiction, less sci-fi, more fantasy, whose physics is impossible. The women I admire were burned at stakes, lost their heads, uteruses, thrust their heads in ovens, lived quiet lives with loud echoing rumors, walked themselves into water and drowned, kept their dead lovers' hearts in desk drawers, invented sci-fi horror, had 200 a year, were known for their beauty while quietly creating Wi-Fi. The monkeys I admire made it back to Earth. The women had better cages. My father'd rather read a detective novel. The women in detective novels have good sweaters. They show up when you open your eyes, when you suddenly turn around. They'll sometimes have sex without feelings or with so much tangled story, you can attempt to save them for several chapters until you realize their fathers won't ever allow it. The royal ships of Naboo reflect everything. Their pointed noses slide through everything. They have no weapons, only evasive maneuvers. And epic hyperdrives. It's the director who gave Padme too much makeup. The luxury of reading only what could be is that the world's already made for you. Some of us have to believe in the impossible just to get up in the morning.
Woo!
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Meghan,
All right, Meghan
who's in
Grupposo.
Menton 15. She's in.
Oh,
Woo,
God.
Meghan.
That was incredible. Thank you so much, Meghan.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. Oh my
You all
God.
rock.
So we wanted to tell you one of the things we'll be giving away at the end of the show. So stay tuned. Is a marvelous 3 Rooms Press coffee cup.
Creative.
Cut the Edge Creative. It's a 2-sided, and it is also red inside. That means it
makes
good.
the coffee color look better.
Yeah, it does.
So make sure at the end you want the cup, because somebody's going to win this cup.
Somebody will win
somebody who hasn't won already.
And it will be
we
mailed
also
to you.
have 5 books we're giving away.
Oh my God. Oh, that's so cool. So quickly, before we lose it, let's welcome to the stage David Lawton.
If we lose him, we lose him.
All right, David, take it away.
Hello, can you hear me? The internet is not being kind to me. 3 Rooms fam, I miss you and me being in the old world. But we're gonna try. In the wrapper, inside my skin, solitary in my privileged freedom, immobile with static uncertainty, mind clogged, lost in confusion, unsure if we can find our way. I enter into my personal cloud chamber, charged with the force of shared legacy, saturated by eternal dichotomy, surface tension waiting for release. On my skiff, trailing particle streams, endeavoring to be clear but still seem cool. A heightened perception, visualizing the passage you do not escape, but carry on, skimming the depths. I remember all that I tried to hold on to, that plunged me into the misty depths, intoxicating in its insubstantiability. Find the place where I resurface to submerge myself again. In more recent years, my dreams like smoke. I wake up with the awareness of dreaming, but as soon as I try to recall, it goes away, away, away. In the morning I taste forget. Something chases me, I can't catch up. But as soon as I try to recall, it blows away, away, away. Somewhere in my sleep I taste forget. Something chases me. I can't catch up. Oh, the second verse again. Wait a minute. Somewhere in my sleep I become what I was. Erase parts of me, scream out loud. But as soon as I try to recall, it blows away, away. Midnight star catcher, sculpting ghosts. Moon plays hide and seek with my tongue. But as soon as I try to recall, it blows away, away. Aimee Herman, thank you for turning my little postcard scribble into a song.
Woo!
Peace out. Hope I made it through.
David Lawton,
David
he
Lawton,
made it.
show us your entire mandolin. Hold
Put
it
it
up.
in the screen.
Hold it up. Hold up
Let's
your
see
mandolin.
the mandolin. Hold it in the screen. Let's see the. Yeah.
Here it is.
Oh, it's so
nice
cute.
color. Thank you so
That's
much,
beautiful.
David.
David,
Mention
thank
on
you very
15.
much.
Somebody wants that copy.
All right.
We have Scavenger
And Aimee Heard
coming
says,
up. We also have
says,
from the
I
first
love you,
half,
David Lawton.
Aimee
All
Herman's
right.
book and Aaron Hamburger's book. So plus we're going with the faking of the
A lot
president.
of love in the room. All right. So there is a lot of love in the room. And what we have is
We have two more readers left.
and
Robert
then-
Gibbons is lost. Hopefully he shows up at the
Lost
last
in the
minute.
supermarket.
We want Robert Gibbons, but
Yes.
But
we are going to be doing two more readers who are
Sophie
Malleret, and also
Jane
that
LeCroy will be
afterwards
after.
we'll be giving away our books and our marvelous coffee cup.
And don't forget, I'm
There's
reading.
Sophie.
Yay, Sophie!
All right.
Where
good
are
to
you?
see
Hey. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Peter and Kat, for this. I have two poems, or maybe just one. We walked over the bridge, Champion, Martina, Mammonia. We packed our dreams in vintage suitcases. From the Himalayas, we hiked, walked in sunrise, smell of snow covering dirt, blood, wounds, the top of mountains, the garbage can of the mountaineers. I dropped my hope at the bottom of the hill. You smiled. We made sandwiches with ham and marmalade. With our hands, we shaped imaginary cheese. Between two slices of despair, I break my foot. We danced the night in full coldness. You hugged me through the storm. We survived slippery slope, icy moon. Feather snowflakes on our lips, in our mouths. The water was never hot enough to make tea. Back to the old country, I found my table and my chair exactly where I'd left it. Venetian blinds were down, moths had made little moth's nests all over my sweaters, and pea cashmere scarf I kept all these years looked more grunge than billboard fashion show where cocoon jumpers are stripped in holes. I can't recount the tales we made up trying to go back to sleep, nor the size of my heart when I went down the mountain top, looking for your shadow in every flake of dust. Wake up in tears, wrinkled parchment rolled up, wrapped around dreams. Where is the mother now? All I remember, gone, midst of forest, clouds, Bruckner Requiem on repeat. Empty brain can't convince you to smile with morning bells and sunny rays. Where is the daughter now? Shiver, body throbbing from toes to frontal lobe. You call compass of your invalid limbs, entangled frozen pathways. Through barely standing trees, I open a window, the abyss uncanny. Impossible temptation, lock me up with the crazies. Set me on fire, sit me down in palm of your imagined hand, lingering. I travel in time back to face of a woman, took care of me like a mother, shadow mother, hair black like mother, name forgotten, scribbled on skin, shedding rains. I air streets of a city I used to love, crossed oceans, looking for ghosts. What's left now? No one stands where I left them. I, barely standing next to trees, barely standing midst of forest. Unsteady territory, land ravaged, under broken. No hand to hold my hand through desert, sand, storm, hurt, how hurt you. I've been wounded flesh, missteps carried in light's fidgeting dawn. Nothing sings like 100 years of past wakes me. In tears I wake, tears greet the sun, tears all that's gone, yet still so much. I'll be pleased to leave you when they take me back, they, the dead. Blackness, alveola, aureola, aureole noir, the dead. My compatriots, contemporaries, comrade, who taught you to ask for dreams? I'll be pleased to leave you when they call me back, they, the dead. Where are the living now? Where are you, child? 7-year-old who's married to Charles de Baudelaire in secret ceremony. Moonlight barely lit rings, we danced. I'm in love with the weirdos, the freaks, the nonchalant, the dog long gone, the cat whose paw plays my fiddle. Please, friend, lock me up with the crazies. Thank you.
Thank
Yay,
you.
Sophie. Thank you so much.
That was beautiful. Oh my
Thank you.
God. Thank you so much.
Fantastic from 3 blocks away.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows?
I missed you at the post office today, yesterday, and the day before. I was going to send you photos each time, but this is
I
what
received
happened.
them, Peter. I received them
Yeah.
from the plane.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Sophie. Wonderful reading.
Now we have 2 more readers. We failed to mention that we have one of our favorite readers
who was reading before, but we skipped Robert Gibbons, so we skipped Matthew. Because Robert got stuck on the train.
Matthew Hupert.
Matthew Hupert.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Pete, Kat, thank you so much. This is one of my favorite events every year. I can't wait till we do it in person. What an amazing set of talent. Thank you. Yay, us. All right, I've got 3 short ones. First one is called Egg. Egg. Too much heat will make you hard. Always keep your sunny side up. Think it over. Easy. My mother was not the typical Jewish mother, a hard-working doctor with little time for gender roles or frippery, scrambling to the top of her profession, 16-hour operating room days, and advocating for a patient's pain left little time for the kitchen. But on occasion, she would make me a bubbela. In Yiddish, bubbela means little doll or sweet. It's what my parents called us on good days. But a bubbela is also a fluffy whipped omelet made with matzah meal sprinkled with sugar. In those glossy yolk moments, she showed me love in the expected manner of mothers. I've never tried to cook this for myself. Some things need to remain sacred. When hiring a gourmet chef, have them fry an egg, then make an omelet. Actually, do this with everyone. A frittata is the perfect meal to clean out your fridge. Be custard or souffle or omelet or cake. Be breakfast or dinner, dense or airy. You're always an egg, all potential. You need to crack your shell to be any use at all. As a small child, I loved eating soft-boiled eggs in an egg cup. I would carefully cut the top with the edge of my spoon and lift the lid gently. After, when empty, I turn it upside down and give it to my dad to fool him. He played along every single time, cracking the shell with his spoon, crowing a shocked gasp of disbelief when he found it hollow. I'd laugh and laugh at how clever I was. I miss him very much. Be like an egg. Eggs are the glue that bind the world together. From egg you came, to egg you'll return. Thank you. Next one's a bit of probably straddling the line of flash fiction. It's called Frank. Frank lived in the same apartment for 60 years. A great neighbor, always a smile and a nod, made me happy to help when I could. When he was young, Frank told me he hated the Yankees, but he'd seen Ruth and Gehrig and Murderers Row because when he'd cut school, it was the stadium he knew how to get to. Even in his 90s, Frank never sat still. One summer, living in Amsterdam, when I was a VJ and the dollar was strong, I was out eating pancakes at a coffee house on Prinsengracht, feeling the canal breeze a late morning after a late night, and who ambles by, wiry and electric and alive? Frank! I asked him why he was here and not back in Yorkville. Spending my savings. He didn't want to leave any money to his kids. No use for them at all. He found the thought of them fighting for whatever scraps he left behind hysterical. Later, the Frank-shaped stain on the carpet haunted me until I had the floors redone. Thank you. One more love poem, because we need love poems in these days, because holy shit. So this is called Your Art Hates You, or It Wouldn't Make You Suffer. This stanza is a grass-covered slope to roll down in giggles and dizzy, to stagger up breathless and do it again. This stanza is a Catskill-rimmed waterhole so still that star clouds rest on its bottom till a lazy toe twitch ripples them to ambiguity. This stanza is spaghetti and meatballs, black raspberry ice cream, the caramel stuck to your fingers when the chocolate is done, chicken soup rice, a well-crafted cocktail. This stanza is a single shaft of sun cutting diagonally across the bed where the two cats are sleeping when you open your eyes. This stanza is a hot cup of tea with lemon, a beach chair, a breeze with a hint of honeysuckle or jasmine, a well-worn book with notes in the margin. This stanza is the second kiss. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matthew.
Gone but not forgotten.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
TRP family.
Yeah. So we have one more reader tonight, and that would be the marvelous.
Well, don't forget me, but we do have
excuse me.
one more.
I'm sorry.
Guest.
We have one more
reader.
guest reader, and then we have the incredible Peter Carloftus.
I do this every time.
All right.
Anyhow, we have Jane LeCroy. Please welcome Jane LeCroy's signature play.
Wow.
And welcome from uptown.
Yes.
We're downtown. If we come up to you, we get a nosebleed. What happens?
Yeah, exactly. I'm in upstate Manhattan in Washington Heights, right where the green touches Manhattan's crazy city. I'm on the wilderness because I'm wild. I'm one of the wild animals, like a predatory bird or a rat. So, tonight's advertised as being provocative and brilliant. So I'm going to do my best. I can certainly be provocative. Brilliant, I try. I fail, but thank you for loving me anyway. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. So it's prose poetry, right? So I'm going to start with prose. And I'm going to set my timer because I want to make sure that I don't read too long. A lot of you read one poem. Nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to read more than one. And I'm starting with prose, though. It's going to shock you because it's a portrait of someone in my family. It's personal. My grandpa. It's never a good sign when you see your grandfather's penis. If you see that, you wish you didn't. But my grandfather didn't care in his early 70s and would talk with abandon about any personal subject in detail, whether you liked it or not. And generally, he was a man of few words, so his words had a certain gravitas. My opa was an old German ballbuster. He sang lullabies in German, but didn't speak German. His parents insisted their immigrant family be American, and German was reserved for my great-grandparents to fight in, and that was all. The children were not to speak German. Opa had high blood pressure and didn't take his medication. He was a diabetic alcoholic who drank port wine and often said aloud he was grateful for every day, but he never seemed happy. He had watched his two siblings die, his wife, his son, and grandson. Cancer, suicide, car crashes, all the endings are sad for their own specific reasons. Believe in God and go to work. That's what's important. Opa laid in the hospital bed about a week after his stroke. His paralysis on his right side wasn't the only problem. He was coughing up blood clots. He was in pain. He wasn't eating. He was happy to see me and my two brothers, though. We said hello and listened to his story, deciphering the words from his new stroke-affected voice. The doctor examined him, and Opa kept flipping up the sheet that covered his groin. But Opa kept exposing himself over and over. The doctor finally said, "I don't need to check your abdomen." The doctor got all flustered and told him, "It's not appropriate." And, "Isn't that your granddaughter right over there?" To which my grandfather replied, "Yeah, so what? Everyone here has seen it all before. I hope they all have children." My brothers and I started to hold in our laughter, which made it all the more funny. Opa kept playing with his dentures in his mouth like they were some gobstopper candy to slobber and suck on. He used to throw them at me across the table at dinner when I refused to eat my meat when I was little. He terrified me, but I loved him. And maybe that is why I loved him. I massaged his feet at the hospital, and it visibly pleased him. My brothers stared silently. The Hohenberger family didn't need to fill the room with talking. Fighting about politics or silence were the acceptable sounds. And live accordion music, all the boys could play. Or Frank Sinatra or Roy Orbison. As a female, I have a greater privilege to touch people. Opa was grateful, and he never showed sadness or disappointment or joy. A true stoic, and the parade of loss that constitutes a life, even of his own body as he continued to live in it. He had a sense of humor about this whole situation, dying, which is commendable, but an irate current ran under the jokes. Estate sale. Now here's a poem that was some prose. You got to meet Opa. Now this one's written after my dad died. We were wrong about how many dumpsters, how long it would take, and what would be valued most. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time because I want you to really get it. We were wrong about how many dumpsters, how long it would take, and what would be valued most. Porn magazines were worth more than vinyl records. The estate sale that went on for a year, every weekend, doling out the garbage, the treasure. It's all the same, one man's life. Invisible wind, give us directions. Some people came looking for a weather vane. They left with all the everyday silverware. Families came and bought the old sheets for $1, filled them with my mother's wedding china and crystal, sneaking out the bundles I pretended not to see. Death, memento mori. My mother cried and cried as if it were a personal affront. Robbery! I explained, I don't want fancy dishes and glasses, and neither do my brothers or you. Mom, we left this all at Dad's for 19 years. It's all just trash. They're doing us a favor. There's so much more we don't have room for. We pay for throwing away what we don't sell or keep. We pay for throwing away what we don't sell or keep. Thank you. That was my 5 minutes. I love you all. You got me, my dad, my grandpa.
You got the fame. You got the fame cut into a third. You know, instead of 15, you got 5. James. Sorry.
Guys, but you know what? I want to be as famous as your glasses that you can write on. I mean, come on. Absolutely. I want to be as famous as those. Will you show them
put
again?
Your name on this glass someday?
Yes.
That would be awesome.
We could just erase it right now and chalk your name
no,
right on there.
Everybody else would feel bad. So what
I know,
we're going to do is we're going to have Peter read his poem, and then we're going to do the giveaways.
Okay.
So ready, Peter?
I am.
Okay, I'm going to scoot away, and now we present Peter Carloftus.
I do this. I think I don't remember last year. I'm COVID, blind, whatever it is, COVID fog. But I just love this piece. It was a moment of life. It's all true, except the name of the place was really The Good Times, and the singer was named Lori Beachman, who has a theater named after her somewhere, and I called her Andrea DeLauren, and I called the place The Showcase instead of The Good Times. But every other second in here is the truth, and it was a moment of that truth, of complete absurdity, and life coming back to haunt you to write and find the place you wanted to be. It's beautiful. Black carpet treatment. I often spend livelong days musing those nights in bars. Hell, I spent half my life once. Bartending joints owned by skin-tight pricks, my choice specimens being Rico and the claptrap he operated 5 flights below cheap to no end, called The Showcase. Even bums on the street shook their heads each day I opened the doors for business. The only thing that tempered the long hours of toil was Rico's voice. His crackling harmonics scraped the ear like in high-pitched overdraw, like W.C. Fields burdened by a chronic backache. I started working on my Rico impression at home. The seeds to my fancy truly came to blossom the night Rico emceed the shows for a congregation of born yesterdays. I never could fathom what possessed anyone to set foot in the showcase, but this night was beyond priceless. The pre-show air tittered electric. The spotlight hit center stage. Rico rolled up his eyes and stuck out his chest. When he pushed in his butt, the room howled, asking for more, so Rico built them a dream. Do you know whose career began on this stage? The hush spread awe among the spellbound. Proudly he revealed, Andrea DeLauren began her career on this very stage. DeLauren was barely a budding hopeful, yet each eye kindled such reverence that you'd have thought the headliner was Jesus. I became so totally preoccupied perfecting my Rico impression that people thought I was nuts. My shining moment came when Rico let me MC the show. I gave that crowd a Rico impression to die for. Do you know whose career began on this stage? Klaus Barbie killed his first audience on this very stage. The only chuckle came from a comic backstage, so I gave him a rousing intro and returned to duty behind the bar, then quickly fell out of love with the hard buck. And as my days bartending the showcase dwindled down, I lucked onto a job in a real nightclub where most of the guys knew Rico. The whole crew loved my Rico at first, but love is ephemeral. So I put the bit to rest until one day a payphone painted me a picture. I called a showcase. Rico answered. this is Rico. I said, this is Rico. He asked, who is this? I said, it's Rico. I said, I'm Rico. He said, I'm Rico. He said, hold on. I heard him inform the cook, I bought steaks on sale, so they smell bad, so serve them with pepper sauce. When he came back asking, who is this? I was flush. My Rico now had a new life. The guys went gaga later that night. 2 captains, 4 comics, and a waiter positioned themselves anxiously around the other extensions while the phone rang. Rico answered. 5 live shows were in progress at both ends of the conversation. Rico said, this is Rico. I said, this is Rico. He asked, who is this? I said, it's Rico. He said, I'm Rico. I said, I'm Rico. He said, hold on. Man, oh man, were we crying. The Mad Round mounted as surprise guest star, his wife Dorothy, no deep thinker, took the phone and asked, who is this? I said, it's Rico. She said, no, it's not. I said, it's Rico, your husband. She said, Rico's here. Who is this? The customers found us more entertaining than the undercurrent of comedy on stage. Once back, Rico asked, is this Chucky? I said, no, it's Rico. He said, I'm Rico. I said, I'm Rico. He said, hold on. We were holding our sides while people at the showcase underzealously applauded some day's comic coming off stage to the raging Rico rally. We love you. They love you. Come back. Then intimately, Rico cautioned his wife, see if that chicken is cooked on table 20. Anyone else would have hung up immediately, but Rico returned and asked, who is this? Pandemonium broke loose. Busboys were on the floor, and nothing else mattered except talking to Rico. I'll always remember that golden night he cascaded into the showcase, followed by a funny little fat man weighed down with paint supplies. They stacked up the tables and chairs and painted the rug over pitch black with old rollers. Somewhere in mid-stroke, Rico muttered, you can't believe what they want for carpet these days. Yeah, those days, those nights. Hell, I spent half my life once.
Oh my God. Oh, what a poem. That was terrific.
Hey,
oh my God.
It's our prose poetry party.
Yes,
and
that's
why
right.
can't we have fun with Rico?
There you go.
And the showcase.
And let's,
the good times, excuse me, it was on 31st Street and 3rd Avenue. It was a Moonstruck Diner or Moonstruck. I think it was. But the last time I saw it was, I haven't been over there in a while, but good times. Rico.
All right. That was beautiful. Do you want to bring back everybody or give away the books first?
Let's give away the books and then we'll bring everybody back for the cup. So who is going to win Nirvana is Here?
Nirvana is Here.
These are only 2 books we're giving away. Nirvana is Here. There was a winner.
Yes. And our winner is, Kathleen Florence.
Uh-oh.
Kathleen Florence.
Kathleen Florence, you win
right.
Nirvana is Here.
There you go.
And then we have a copy of Maintenant 15. And who won that? Francine Witt?
Yeah.
I think Francine Witt will win Maintenant 15, and hopefully she'll submit to Maintenant 16.
All right.
So let's do
Midnight is
that.
our annual Dada journal. It's a labor of love, and we get submissions from around the world.
233
and 6 continents, but because we are now
Lucy
connected
Jane
with
Bledsoe.
Lucy Jane Bledsoe, we are going to also get the 7th continent,
Antarctica. We're
next
going to
year.
get an artist from Antarctica.
Okay. All right.
7 continents.
So let's bring back everybody. We will bring back everybody. But while we do, just remember, we have one more great prize to give away, and that is the cup. And right now, what we want to do is we want to give the cup to the person who right now puts up the best comment on either Facebook
Who
or
wants the
YouTube.
cup? Who wants the cup? Who wants the cup?
cup?
Put it up. We've had a few
Yay!
people that we are choosing between, but we do want
Right.
to give up the cup. So
If you want the cup, you already have one. We see that. That's so cool, Matthew.
that's so cool. Matthew Hupert
Okay,
has the cup.
If you want the cup, say why you want it, and we'll be sure to
You'll be a
consider
winner
it.
if you are the winner.
All right. Okay, so thank you so much to Matthew Hupert, Meghan Grupposo, Karen
Rico wants me.
Hildebrand,
Says Rico wants me.
Sophie,
Rico.
Malleret,
He was a
Jane
real guy. He
LeCroy,
talked just like that.
and the suddenly dark, but we love him anyway, David Lawton. Okay, let me
He's
see.
down there somewhere.
Add him back. Whoops, he went away. He went away.
And my heart went with you.
Okay, that was wonderful. Okay, right now we have Rico wants me to have it.
Who is that?
This is from a Facebook user. Oh, that would be Marie Hofer. And then we have
should send to Marie Hofer.
Matthew wants all the cups, but he already has one. And then we have
We got to send to Marie Hofer.
what Richard says is true. That was not related to the cup. I think that much as I'd love to give, we had some earlier comments about the cup, which were really good. But I think
Order the cup.
Rico wants me to have
Order the
it.
cup, Aimee and Cowie.
I believe Marie Hofer is going to be our winner. for
Marie
the
Hofer
cup.
has to have it.
All right. Marie
She's
Hofer
our
is our
80-year-old
winner.
pilot.
But I think
87-year-old. Order the cup.
Rico wants me
Order
to have
the
it.
cup.
All right. So thank you all so much. You guys have anything left to say?
Yay!
Yay. Yeah, I doubled the
doing
yay.
this every year
Thank you
because
for having us.
everybody here and everybody who's
Okay.
been on this tonight
Let's do one at a
is
time.
family.
Matthew, what do you have to say? Did you have a good time?
I had a great time. What a stunning assortment of talent. I'm honored and humbled to be part of it.
Great. Megan?
This was so cool. Thank you so much for having me. And it was so great to get to listen to people read from their books, especially because I've read some of those books. So to get to hear them read was so super awesome. Thank
They're
you.
all available. Hey, oh my God, I forgot to mention, we have a bookshop now. So if you go to bookshop.org and you look for Three Rooms Press under shops, there we are. Okay, Karen, what do you have to say? Did you have a good time tonight?
Oh, yeah. I love you guys. I love everybody. I love being part of the Three Rooms Press family.
Oh, we love you.
Howard!
Your poetry is stunning. Sophie, what do you have to say?
Hi, Karen.
Sophie's on.
Thank you.
Hi,
So I
Sophie.
had a wonderful. Oh, I'm sorry. I had a wonderful time. It's so lovely to see everybody and hear everyone. Thank you for the great poetry, everyone.
You know we love you.
We
We'll
love
wish
you.
you love from San
I love
Francisco
you
tomorrow.
too.
And Jane LeCroy.
People are always asking me, like, do you believe in magic? Are you spiritual? You seem like you believe in magic. You're spiritual. And I'm like, no, I believe in writing and the imagination.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right,
You can
imagination.
make squiggles on paper and make sounds and pictures come to people's minds.
All right.
That's all we need. What magic more than that? And that's what you guys are. I love you. Thank you.
That's what we do, and that's
All
why
right.
you're a part of the family,
Thank
and that's
you.
why we're a part of your family. You know,
All right. Thank you so much. All right.
it's
Well,
as important to us to
we're
be a
gonna-
part of
we're-
your family.
We're going to end the
Jane.
broadcast now, but stay
We can
on. and
stay
we'll
on,
hello.
stay
All
on.
right. Thank you. All right.